listen, because the media is out. How come they can report about the violence outside when they're in here with me?
Is that what's happening?
I don't depend on Libyan TV. I spoke to Libyans who called me. They have nothing to do with politics. There's been panic, there's been some defections, and there's been massive, atrocious criminal bombings. Very bad. I didn't sleep the other night because the bombings did not stop.
How is it tonight?
Okay.
Are they still bombing?
They bombed a bit, but not as much. NATO's directly involved. I heard that somebody told me the Transitional Council, this is somebody who's a foreigner, was reading the Transitional Council itself in Benghazi has said NATO is involved with the operations. So what is NATO lying about when it says they're not directing these operations?
You're ready to leave now. You're ready to get out.
I'm confined in a place I can't move. If I could have moved, it would have been a different story. I'll be dead honest with you. I was put in a position where I'm confined, and you know, I would have moved on my own. I would have left on my own terms. I've been here for 2 months, and I don't want to leave like a coward at all. Because when I leave, these people, they're going to face the nightmare. They'll face the nightmare. And I feel like a coward for leaving these people here who are going to live in fear. There's going to be gangs, just like in Benghazi. They're going to kill each other. For what? NATO wants them to kill each other. I feel very bad that Libyans are killing Libyans, and they're not all Libyans either. You know, there's a lot of people who came here because they're from other Arab countries because they thought it's an authentic revolution. Some came because they misconstrued religious views.
Also, some just got paid for it, just for money.
Of course. No, of course. And believe me, some did get paid for it. Who's suffering? These innocent people, these children. You know, I've spoken to them. Like, I've seen like traumatized children. A man whose wife's leg was amputated. People who talk about rape, beheading. Come on. This is the real international communities. People like me, people like you, people like these people. Not few governments who act unaccountably, and they do act unaccountably. And NATO itself is a means to escape democracy. I don't believe we live in any real democracy, but it's only there because it's unaccountable. Because when Obama kills people, or Sarkozy, or Cameron, they say it's NATO. They won't be held accountable. There's no constituency that can stop them. They just say it's NATO. NATO did this. NATO has to be taken.
The TV station has been bombed.
NATO has to be taken to.
You know, in a way, it's been doing this for 10 years already, but somehow in Libya it's worse because it's closer to Europe and we feel for the people more.
I'm sorry, but the thing about Libya is it's a far more important war. The world powers and rivalries now are getting less flexible than they were. They were far more flexible before, but now there's more chips on the table. There's incredible financial objectives at risk. There's a lot of financial. What is it? I'm sorry, I'm at a loss for words, but
it's also the Arab Spring. You know, it also from Libya they can go to Algeria and Egypt.
It's no Arab Spring. Take a look at every single member of the Geneva human rights organizations. Go see who sits on their boards. When you find out who sits on their boards, you're going to see which character these characters, who they are. They're warmongers. They're allergies. They're really not good. And especially all the organizations, Libyan organizations involved here. Al Jazeera was on the board, or the Muslim Brotherhood. And I'm not saying everyone in the Muslim Brotherhood is bad, but I'm saying the leadership has been co-opted for sure. You know, it's a fraud. This war was a fraud. It's a real full. They're all media wars. This was really the media's tipped, and they're doing this to Syria.
So what's happened is you are confined there.
Yeah, we're confined because they're snipers. We have to be safe, right?
And do you think there's much Libyan military? Because I've been told they're all hiding, like you don't actually see them.
They could be. That could be one of their tactics, you know, hide and fight
I
later.
don't know, I don't have.
But there's volunteers fighting. There's tribesmen fighting. There's kids fighting. The checkpoints are mostly manned by civilians, some by military, and some by militia and police.
But what can you do
It's
when
mostly
there's
volunteers.
when an
mostly
Apache helicopter comes by? What can you do? I mean, you can't do anything.
Apaches have been attacking the checkpoints. This is the irony. Those checkpoints were meant for security, not for killing civilians. It's very clear. That's what the checkpoint's there. It's not moving around killing people. It could be stopping some mobility, but it hasn't. I've go through the checkpoints, but those checkpoints are there for security, and NATO bombs and attacks the checkpoints with their helicopters. The gunships were in Tajura for the last couple of days. They've been attacking, and I have to tell the Russians, the Chinese, the Iranians, the Algerians, several former Soviet republics, they cannot let this continue. They are moving east. Believe me, they are moving east. What's happening in Syria is identical to what has happened in Libya. Yeah.
You know, there's some talk that maybe some NATO troops are even coming ashore. Do you think that's possible?
In reality, they are ashore. These are their proxies, but they have special forces. They've been spotted. There's NATO special forces and advisors. What do you call them? They're soldiers. What are they? And they have mercenaries. Even they use things like Blackwater. I don't know if Blackwater is here on the ground, but I'm saying they use security firms, which are mercenaries. That's the irony. They say Libya could not use mercenaries, right? Gaddafi was using mercenaries to kill his own people. When they use mercenaries all around the world, the United States is the biggest contractor of mercenaries in the world. What do the British do? What do they do in Iraq and Afghanistan? What do the Americans do? They use mercenaries. Believe me. You know, they say Gaddafi's a madman, Gaddafi has to go. Okay, maybe you're right, for argument's sake. Okay, well, what about the King of Saudi Arabia? What about the Al Khalifas? What about, the petro monarchs in the Persian Gulf?
Yeah, they've been there for 40 years as well.
Yeah, that's it, my friend. That's it. I'm sorry. Each one of us tries to make a better world in our own way. I tried my best. Maybe my number's up, maybe it's not, but
No,
I hope other people there believe me, because I didn't come here to make a buck. I didn't come here to make a name. I came here because I didn't want innocent people to be killed. And it's very important to understand that this war in Libya is part of a broader front. It's part of the war in Afghanistan, part of the war in Pakistan, part of the war in Iraq. It's part of the Palestinian front. It's part of the pressure in Lebanon. It's part of what's happening to Syria. It's part of what happened in Chechnya and Dagestan to the Russian Federation. It's what happened in Tibet in Western China. It's part of the coup d'etat against President Chavez and the Venezuelan government. It's part of the pressure, the terrible pressure against the Cuban government. This prevented Cuba from developing. It's part of what's happening in Somalia. And I have to warn people, the human rights organizations, please take a good look at them. See who they serve. See who they work for. See where their funding's from. Because believe me, they can lie and they work for governments. These human rights organizations and such, in Africa, look what they've done to this. They're doing to this continent. Like, there's been famine because of this war in other parts of Africa, because this country financed the agricultural projects or was behind the development.
They don't care. It's just killers. Mahdi,
No, they don't care. I'm sorry, I'm babbling.
Last favor to ask you. Can you show us around the area again? I kind of lost it before.
Yeah, I will. A lot of people left in here. This is the mosque.
What, they've gone outside?
No, they're just at the door. These are the pastries I brought up. There you go.
Yeah, that's great. That's really good.
There you go.
Thanks a million. I hope you get some sleep, and I'd love to talk to you tomorrow.
Okay. I heard Frank Lamb was shot in the leg.
That's correct.
I hope he's safe.
He is.
Okay, bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.